This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And folks, I have a return guest here on September the 5th, 2022. Yes, we had him on last year, probably right around this time. He is the author of the book of Top 10 Horror List, which I have in my hand for anybody who happens to watch the video. And he's got the poster for it behind him, but I have the book. You see, I have okay, now he's got the book. He's got the book now. Okay, he's one up me. Folks, I give you the Crypt Master Chucky himself, Charles Rosenay. How do you do, Charles?
You almost said creep master, but that works also. I am doing great. I am so glad to be back.
Yeah,
Another year's gone by, and you and I keep in touch through the year. But it's
yeah.
great to be on the show again.
Yeah, I like this. You signed it to Greg, a great interviewer and a great guy. And it says, may all your horrors be fictional.
Mhm.
Cheers and chills, Charles Rosenay. So pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. I think I've interviewed about 5 people you've had in this book.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, I think you've also interviewed some people who are going to be in the sequel if that ever happens. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I've had let's go back here to this index here. I've had Eddie Deason on, who was a great interview for me.
Mhm.
I had Sarah Karloff on in tribute to her father, Mr. Boris Karloff.
The best.
Yep. Of course, I've had Debbie Sue Voorhees on here 5 times, who directed 13 Fanboy, which I'm co-producer on.
We're involved in. Yep.
Yeah, and oh my goodness, where are the others? Because I know I interviewed. Let me see.
There's a more Scream Queens that you interviewed. I forgot who.
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna find whoever the others were. Well, anyway, I found those 3. So anyway, yeah, I've had them on the show, and yeah, it was great. And yes, I sent you some people. So I know I sent you Eileen Dietz. That was an interesting little story.
Definitely. And we met at the Dead Con in Indianapolis, and she
Hmm.
couldn't be nicer. She was a friend of yours. She said, well, if Gilbert recommended, then I'll definitely do it. And she gave us a top 10 list for the following book, which will be Bride of Book of Top 10 Horror Lists. But yeah, a ways away from that.
Found my other 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
Murray Langston was on this year, the unknown comic.
Wow.
I had him on, and I had Ashley C. Williams of Julia and the Human Centipede. I met her at my first con.
Wow.
Yep, yep, she's gorgeous. So yeah, I those were the 5 I interviewed from this book. But yeah, I remember I was reaching out to some of these people for your next book. And I reached out to Eileen about it, and it just how funny it was that she was at a con you were at.
Like literally a few days after we talked about her. So that was perfect timing. Yeah, you know what? Your people are usually, if I mention your name, it's like golden because they love doing interviews with you. So when I made the request, once I said your name, it opened the doors. And you know what? After getting 100 celebrities in the first book, it became a challenge because there was a lot that a lot of them that I didn't think of, and you gave me a lot of great leads. So I appreciate that. But in between that time and this time, as you probably know,
Yeah.
we come up with a new book, and it was just released this summer. And I'm just starting to promote the True Ghost Stories of Connecticut, which is firsthand paranormal accounts by individuals who experienced the occurrences. And yeah, is it a horror book? if you read some of the stories, yeah, they're scarier than a lot of the horror movies we see. What it is I got a lot of paranormal people throughout Connecticut and New England um, to tell me their best horror stories, their best ghost stories, their best supernatural experiences with two things. The two things that had to be is one, they had to take place or had to revolve around Connecticut, which is my home state, as you know. And part two, they had to be true. It had to be something that they themselves experienced, not heard about firsthand or secondhand, or I mean, secondhand or third hand. It had to be the real deal. So my first book, as you know, came out on Bear Manor Media. The second book was put out by Kiwi Publishing, and great reviews on Amazon, also doing great. And what's really cool is with Halloween coming up, all of the end of this month and next month, I am doing so many appearances to sign copies of both books, doing libraries, doing conventions, and doing a ton of guest appearances. So both of the books are really exciting to have as, sort of sister books. One is much more horror, the book of top 10 horror list. One is much more haunted, ghosts, paranormal. But the people who love one usually love the other.
Um, I have to backtrack here. You said anytime you mention my name, people do. Who else has done your book based on my name being mentioned?
I was lying. When I mention your name, they usually hang up on me. But I had to say that because I'm on the air with you. No, no, kidding. Sandy, somebody,
Sandy Johnson.
right?
I love Sandy Johnson.
That's the one that comes to mind, but there were others. I'm just, stockpiling them for the next book. But like I mentioned, I won't do these books until I hit that 100 mark. And doing a top 10 list of Beatle top 10 list. So we're at about 60 for that one. And the horror book, only because this one came out not too long ago. I figured that a year or two, there's no rush to put out the sequel. And about 40 or 50 celebrities into that one. So yeah, I'm taking that one a little slower. It's more like when you have a guest, if I think, oh wow, that person would be great in the book, I'll let you know. But also because I do so many conventions, I'm also hitting them up with for lists when I see them in person. That's usually the best way. They feel too guilty to say no.
Well, I really I love Sandy Johnson, she's somebody I'd love to meet at a con at some point. I know I gave you some business because my Victim No More director Bobby Heckman bought a book from you and didn't even know your connection to the monkeys, which really impressed him.
He's a big monkeys guy. Is that true?
Yeah.
Wow, very, very cool. So cool.
He bought the book from you because I think I saw a picture he put up.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because even though it's a horror book, the book of top 10 horror lists has celebrities giving me their list. Well, I'm a rock and roll guy, as you are, and as you know, you're a little more metal than I am. But what I did is because I have so many friends who were Beatle fans and Monkey fans, about 9 of the chapters in the book are Beatle related, and another 9 are Monkey related. So if you're a Monkeys fan, you get Mickey Dolenz from the Monkeys, you get Christian Nesmith, you get a bunch of Monkey related people. If you're a Beatles fan, you get Pete Best, who was the Beatles' first drummer, John Lennon's sister, Paul McCartney's stepmom, on and on. There's a very, what? It skews to be, as you know, it's a pretty rock and roll book for a horror book.
I would like to do a top 10 horror films for your next book.
Who would be the number one? Just to give us a taste. I don't want all 10. What would be your number one? I'm putting you on the spot, right?
I really don't know
You have to think about it.
because I'd have a hard time even picking a number one for Alfred Hitchcock, but I'd have to put at least one of his on,
Fair enough.
you know? But there's so many that I love. Halloween, the original, Dress to Kill, Miss 45, the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. Definitely. Fright Night, I loved for a vampire film, An American Werewolf in London for a
Oh,
werewolf movie.
great.
Even more recently, X. I loved X.
Well, it's really funny because I was telling my kids and we went over like my favorite horror movies of this year so far. And X came in second. I like Black Phone first. I put X second. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies was third. The Invitation maybe fourth. I forgot what else have I seen. I can't think of
I'll
the
be
movie.
frank with you. The Invitation, almost. I thought I was like, I would much rather watch Ready or Not, which was very similar but a much
Very
better
similar.
film.
That's very. Yeah, I loved her performance, and I thought it was like two separate movies. The first half was a mystery, and then the second half became a vampire movie, and I think it fell apart when it became a vampire movie. But on the bottom of my list, and it kills me, was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre redo, and I just had such high hopes for that one. It is what it is.
Well, I'll tell you this. This fall I'm looking forward to seeing Pearl. I
Oh
love they gotta get Mia Goth and Jenna Ortega at these horror cons because they
yeah.
would get a lineup right now.
Oh yeah, so hot,
Yep,
so hot.
yep. But love was I want to see Pearl, I want to see Halloween Ends, and I want to see whenever it comes out. There's no release date yet. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I gotta see that.
I know, yeah,
That
that should be interesting. I'll tell you my biggest disappointment of the year besides Texas was Nope. And I'm a big Jordan. Yeah, I love Jordan Peele. But I had such high expectations after Get Out and after Us, and I thought that of the three, this was by far the weakest. But when you're of that level, it's like saying, well, this is my least favorite of the Hitchcock movies. It's still a phenomenal movie, but in relation to the others. And that's what I felt about Nope. So that was on my list of this year's too. But the year's not over. We're gonna have some surprises. We're gonna have a lot more. I think my favorite last year, believe it or not, was the Soho, Last Night in Soho.
I
And
love that film. I got
oh,
that here on
oh,
Blu-ray. I
oh,
saw
do I?
that in Toronto.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love Last Night in Soho. Um, I actually liked Nope, and I think I'm one of the few that did. But maybe it's bec I like how he writes his characters, you know?
yeah.
I just gravitated, I liked it, but there's people that didn't care for it. But I agree, Black Phone was great. Yep, I agree. X, I think, was my favorite.
Yeah.
I went
No,
to that 4 times, so I'm wondering, will I go to Pearl 4 times? We shall see.
I have a friend who just saw the Elvis movie for the 30th time in a theater.
I enjoyed it. Yep.
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. But and you know what? There were dark aspects to that. And where what I thought was probably the most horror filled Marvel superhero movie was the most recent Doctor Strange. I thought the elements of horror in there were really strong.
Yeah. Nope, not bad. But nonetheless, yeah, that's some of the ones I'm looking forward to this fall and
Halloween goes without saying. Yeah, of course.
well, I'm a little bit everybody's talking about it. When everybody starts talking about something, I become less and less interested. I just hope Kyle Richards' character gets to live because it's funny, she's not the little girl in the pigtails anymore. She grew up hot.
Well, and not only that, but sometimes you have such high expectations for a film that maybe that was my problem with Nope. Going into it, I expected so much, and on the other hand, sometimes you have such little expectations that it blows you. That's why I think I like Bodies, Bodies, Bodies as much as I did. Similar movie I saw on streaming. Uh, Alone in the House. Oh shoot! Now I'm going to forget the title, but it was similar. With a lot of current um, tropes of what the young people say nowadays when they're on their phones and on their devices, and poked fun at it while also giving us some horror. But anyway,
Another one I enjoyed that came out last year, I wish it came into theaters, because I would have went to it, was Willy's Wonderland, and I went to
oh,
that. I had a couple people on my show from that.
really,
Yep. Yeah, I had a couple of people on my show from that. I enjoyed that. But I'm noticing there's a lot of horror movies coming out about objects, like the one about the killer pants or the one called Rubber about the killer tire. And I'm like, I'm kind of digging that, because there's more imagination in that than some garbage like After Ever Happy,
Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't care. Let them keep coming. I'm good with as many, and no, even if they're bad, just bring them on. It's all good. The movie I was referring to, I just looked it up real quickly. It's called "There's Something Inside Your House."
Oh.
And it's a poor man's version of Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. It doesn't have obviously Pete Davidson in it, but worth checking out. Um,
Buddies, 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 I had some fun. I loved the ending of it, but
sure,
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna go with what a lot of people said, the most annoying bunch of characters.
clearly.
Yeah, but I got to admit, and I'm not gonna give the ending away, the ending was actually kind of funny when you stop and think of all this shit that happened.
Yeah, don't let's not give it away, but yeah, brilliant,
Oh
brilliant,
my goodness, it's like,
brilliant.
yeah, how are they going to explain that now?
Yeah, right.
Yep. But of course, I'm not surprised. Jurassic World Dominion was one of the worst films I've seen this year, and so, but it's just like Jaws.
Yeah,
Jaws never had a sequel that was any good.
right.
Jurassic Park never had one that was any good either. So
It was like a mountain that went the opposite way. It started up so high, and each one was a little worse. I mean, the second one's enjoyable, third one's
I
enjoyable. Annoying.
hated the second and third one.
Oh yeah,
Oh my goodness. Like I was just gritting my teeth during the Lost World Jurassic Park. I was like watching the stupid things people did. Like flashing a camera while that get that crap off the movie screen. Like it just completely tests your intelligence, and
it's
how dumb this stuff is.
it's
So
it's the flashing of the camera bulbs that got King Kong going, wasn't it? So there's maybe a flashback to that, but
I don't know. I didn't complain about King Kong, but I definitely complained about the Lost World Jurassic Park, which, as far as I'm concerned, the worst movie I've seen Spielberg do.
I
You
gotta tell
know,
you, you mentioned Willy's Wonderland and Nicolas Cage, of course. His new movie is probably not horror, of course, one of my favorite movies of the year. And I don't know if you saw it.
I did.
Yeah, what's the title? Because I can never remember the title.
I
The-
like to refer to it as Nicolas fucking Cage.
Try to edit you, couldn't get it in time. Try to censor. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my
It's
goodness.
it's brilliant. It's genius. He's great in it. And if anyone hasn't seen it, it's worth seeing. The utter importance of whatever being famous,
The unbearables, I don't know,
something
massive
like that.
talent.
Yeah.
But it was terrific. I enjoyed it very much.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he's able to laugh at himself. I think he's well aware of the memes and stuff about him. He's able to have some fun with them, you
I
know?
think I think two other, people have been able to do that. One was Jean-Claude Van Damme, who had a series similar where he poked fun at himself. And also, what's his face? Who's in all the movies? I'm drawing a blank. I'm seeing his face. He was in all those. What's the movie? The first movie where it was the slow motion. They're able to go under the
Oh,
bull.
Keanu Reeves?
Keanu Reeves. Thank you. Yeah, he's another one who
Yeah,
realizes his place in pop culture and is able to make fun of it. Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
never thought Nick Cage could, but I'll give you a great Nick Cage story. You know, I
sure.
you know I do the Dracula tours to Transylvania.
Mm-hmm.
We go there and spend a week and visit all the castles and everything else. And we also do ghost tours, which we're bringing back. We're doing a ghost tour to England next July. We'll go to all the haunted places in England at the end of the show. Hopefully, I can give those websites. But we did a haunted weekend in New Orleans, and it happens that Nick Cage has owns a home there, and it's one of the most haunted places in all of New Orleans. And I say that because what happened, it was a very rich family owned it, and they pretty much used slaves as their assistants and as their handyman and as their waiters and servants. And when they were done with them, they buried them under the cardboard. They buried them under the floorboards and all that. So it's haunted by the slaves. And Nicholas Cage bought the home. And the rumor is he's never been there. Well, the best story is that a tour guide took us around and showed us this. And he said he was on a tour and he said out the door, well, this is the famous blah, 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 and it's owned by Nicolas Cage, but he's never been here. At which point Nicolas Cage opens the terrace door and goes, well, that might not be entirely true. He was there and he heard the tour guide say it. He had to come out to the tour people. So that disproved it. But it's true that he owns. He's a big Superman guy, big collector, as you know, big Elvis collector and all that, and happens to own one of the most haunted homes in all of America.
Wow. Well, when you're out collecting people for your top tens, give me some stories about the encounters, whether by this book or by the new one, of people.
Yeah, so I've known Ken Forey for
I've met him, yep.
maybe
Never had him on here, but I've met him.
15 years, and he's a great guy, and he's intelligent, he's a good actor, and he's a staple at conventions. And it was one year he was he hosting or co-hosting the Horrifying convention, which is no longer around in Maryland, and we became friends. And then he was at a New Jersey event that was taking place in a movie theater in Jersey City, and he and he said, I'm going to tell you about one of the best actresses I've ever worked with, and you're going to know her because she was scary, but oh, was she hot and sexy. And I said, you mean Moms Mabley? Now, I don't know if you know Moms Mabley, but she was an old time black comedian who was probably one of the, forgive me, moms, rest your soul, who was one of the ugliest humans that ever lived. And she had false teeth. When I yelled it out, Ken Forey just lost this. He lost this shit. I mean, he laughed so hard. And I reminded him of this, years later. And I kept asking him for his list, and he said he'd get to it. He'd get to it. He wants to make it special. He might want to do some things on black actors in horror movies. This went on literally 10 to 15 years. Finally, at the DeadCon in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where he was a guest and I was a guest, said, Ken, this is the guy who's been asking you for the list. Now, look, the book came out already. You're not in it, but I need you for the sequel. He goes, I'll work on it on the plane ride home. Okay. So I wait a week, wait 2 weeks. I write, hey, Ken, how did it come out? Did the plane ride, were you able to do it? Oh, completely forgot about it. Let me get to it. Anyway, end of the story. He finally gave me one, and it's a damn good list. So when I do put out the Bride of the Book of Top 10 Horror Lists, he will be in it. Sometimes it takes me 15 years to get someone's list. Sometimes it's first try. So you never really know. One of the interesting ones, and I don't remember if I told you this on the last one, who's in the first book, is a dear friend of mine. It's John Lennon's sister, Julia.
Mm-hmm.
She's a representative ambassador in Liverpool. She lives nearby there in Chester, England. And she's really good to me. We've been friends since the 80s. And whenever I kind of ask her for something, she's there for me. And I asked her for a top 10 list for the horror book. And there was a pause. And she said, Charles, just like Sarah Karloff in a way, because she doesn't like horror movies and doesn't watch her dad's movies. She goes, Charles, I want to help you, but I don't like horror movies. I don't think I've watched more than one or two in my whole life. She goes, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. And I love telling the story. A month or two go by, and then all of a sudden I get an email from her, and it was something like, well, here it is. And I open it up and I keep going and keep going and going. She wrote, Greg, a thesis, a college level uh, expose on the horrors of literature with the horror elements of Shakespeare. And oh my God, if someone presented this for their, graduate study paper, it would have aced it. It's the largest chapter in the book. It's the most intellectual, and it's the one that comes to mind because I never thought I'd get one from her. I had no idea how she'd come up with one because she didn't like horror movies, and she blew me away with going out of the box, which a bunch of the people did, if you recall. But hers was the most outstanding because it's the longest chapter in the book, and it's probably the most well thought out.
Well, tell me, say that John Lennon's sister hasn't seen any of his movie. How could she not want to watch Yellow Submarine?
No, 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 no. What I said was just like Sarah Karloff, who
Yeah.
didn't see her dad's, who hated watching her dad's movies, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Karloff, the first thing she'll say is, "I'm not a fan of the monsters, and I never liked watching my dad's movies." I'm sure she saw them all, but she's not a fan of them. She's not, she sit her down and watch a movie. She's not going, to the Black Cat. She's not going to Frankenstein. That's not her first go-to. With Julia, she definitely watched all the Beatle movies and all her brother's movies, no doubt. She's written books about, John Lennon. So that's not the case. The case was she didn't like horror movies and she didn't know how to write about horror movies.
She could have classified the Blue Meanie as horror.
Horror villain right there. And
Yeah.
and I'll throw something at you that you may or may not know. Frankenstein makes a guest appearance in Yellow Submarine.
Yes, he does.
Huge Frankenstein, and then he morphs into John Lennon. So that's a quick.
Yep.
There's also a quick scene where it's 3 exclamation marks on the screen for no reason whatsoever, which kind of justified me adding, 3 exclamation marks to my name in every place I put
Hmm.
my name. So we tie in Yellow Submarine with monster movies. Amazing. Only on your show.
Do you think she'd do my show?
She wouldn't. She's kind of, I've been asked by a lot of rock and roll
Okay.
podcasters and even Beatle podcasters. If you went to Liverpool, sat down with her with a beer and got on a camera, she would probably take the time as an in-person favor. But when I've asked her prior to you just bringing it up, I've got a friend. He's really means a lot to me. Would you be? She said, Charles. I get too many requests. I can't.
That's okay. That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's okay. Nope, that's okay. No, I don't take that the wrong way at all. But I think it's interesting that you got that in here.
Mm. Do you do interviews with non-horror people?
Yeah.
Because a friends of mine just wrote a book. They were the creators of the Beatles Story Museum in Liverpool. He played in the same clubs, the Cavern Club, as the Beatles and Mike Byrne. His wife dated George Harrison. And they're the ones who created in Liverpool, when there was no tourist attractions except the Cavern Club, they created the Beatles story, which is the most amazing exhibit of museum in all of Liverpool, in fact, all of England. And they're just released a book, and I think they'd be very, very up for doing an interview. So after we finish, I'll give you all their information.
Yeah. Yeah, something's dinging on your end. I know that.
It's gas. That's how I fart. I'm sorry. It comes out as a ding.
Anyway, what I was going to say is that yeah, I've interviewed people from all genres. I mean, my first guest was Tommy Wiseau. I mean, the room, I guess you could call it horror, but not from the technical side. Um, Jeepers, I've had people from all kinds of movies on.
Right.
Like if you look through my catalog of interviews, yeah, I've interviewed people from various
How many
various.
totals in interviews has Python done? How many?
You are going to be, let me check this because I can bring that right up here. You are going to be number 657
Wow.
for this second
Wow.
one. Yep.
Wow. For number 1,000, we have to do a multiples. We got to get on like 20 people. And I want to be one of those people. I want to see like tons of heads of people you've interviewed, and we got to celebrate your 1000th show the right way. You're up for that?
I'm up for it, but I don't know if I could get 1,000 or get multiple people on there or not.
I'll help you with it. We'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll make
Okay.
it. We'll make it because that's 500 is the landmark, but 1000 is a milestone.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm slowly getting there. I did 144 interviews last year, which was my record.
Phew.
And as of you're number 129 this year, so I'm gonna break that record.
Oh, you're gonna blow by it, no doubt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Even with 2 convention appearances I'm doing in October, so I'm
What
doing
show, what shows?
I'm gonna do Horrorama
Hmm.
in Toronto, and I'm assisting Lisa Langlois at her table because it'll be the second one I've done with her.
Right.
Yeah. Um, so I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also so looking forward to meeting Caroline Monroe, who I had on my show back in 2016. So I definitely got to meet her, and Tom Matthews is going to be at both events I'm going to, and I think I'm going to meet him at both because, well, it's good networking. But but the other one I'm going to is Frightmare in the Falls, in Niagara Falls, which, like I said, Tom Matthews will be at both. That one there is going to have about 24 guests.
Wow.
And it's come to the point with me, like Horrorama, I could probably meet pretty much everybody because it's a smaller con.
Mhm.
They've got right now 9 guests. They'll probably announce another 2 or 3.
Mhm.
But with Frightmare in the Falls, it's bigger. And I'm just kind of sitting down, like thinking, I can't meet all 24 because financially it's just draining, you know?
Good. See, that's the same weekend as Chiller
Mm-hmm.
and as the Connecticut Seekers Warrens Paranormal Convention. It's just so many shows at the same time. It's so tough nowadays if you're in the
Well, it's
state.
not, I don't mean financially that way. I mean financially from the standpoint of
The organ-
I can't meet all 24 people. I just,
I get it. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I'm saying from my end because I would have loved to have been at the one at the Falls in Niagara Falls, and then Harorama, which of course is the Toronto show. I would love to be at these. It's just not. You can't be in too many places at one time, no matter how I
Mm-hmm.
try. It just doesn't happen. Carolyn Monroe, I'm so glad you mentioned her. God, do I love her and her daughter. They were at Monster Bash over the summer and took a lot of pictures, but she was kind enough to give me a top 10 list for the next book. And I'd been trying to pursue her for quite a while. As have many men for many years trying to pursue her. But no, now that, on a professional level. And so she's going to be at which show? She's going to be at the Toronto one?
At Horrorama, yeah.
Uh,
It was a domino effect because I had interviewed John Walsh in tribute to Ray Harryhausen because he worked with Ray Harryhausen, and I wanted to do something to celebrate Clash of the Titans, which is a movie I absolutely love to this day.
mhm.
And and I'm talking about the original, that shitty remake for anybody listening.
Wait, wait,
But
wait, wait. I got to jump in about the shitty remake.
yeah.
Do you realize that that was at the peak of the 3D releases, and they released it as a 3D movie, and I thought this is going to be amazing. I can't wait to see this what stop motion what they come up with in 3D. And it was one of those movies, like I think there was a Final Destination movie the same way, where they added the 3D after in post production, and it was maybe one or two scenes, and it was disgraceful. So I have a gripe against those few movies for that reason. I'm glad you brought that one up
Yeah.
as not liking it because I'm floating around here because I totally agree with you, brother.
I love the original Ray Harryhausen did, and John Walsh worked with him very closely, and so I got I've had him on 3 times in tribute to Ray, and because Caroline was in the Golden Voyage of Sinbad, she was
Sure.
one of the trustees for the Ray Harryhausen Foundation.
Uh-huh.
So that was what led me to Caroline, but it even goes from there. because earlier this year we lost Veronica Carlson,
Oh,
and I had Veronica Carlson on my show in 2017, and
right.
I remember her manager was talking to me on the phone, and she was saying, "Oh, Veronica will love that you interviewed Caroline."
Oh, yeah.
Yep, yep. So,
Well, you mentioned Hararama, and I was going to surprise you. I really wanted to go to that and not tell you and just be there, and we would have hung out because I knew there was that's the one you go to every year. You told me in the
yeah.
last. It's the same weekend as the Super Mega Fest in
Mm-hmm.
Massachusetts. And the special guest there is Pete Best, who was the Beatles' first drummer. He has a table. I have a table next to him. And there's other horror guests there too, and celebrity guests. And uh, again, I wish there was one convention every weekend for 52 weeks. But sometimes I get it. If you're talking about September, October, where the busiest Halloween times, that's when they want to do horror shows. I would like to make an announcement, and that's on November 12th and 13th, which is kind of after all the Halloween hoopla. I'm producing Salem Paracon. Myself and Nick Roseman, my para partner, we
Mm-hmm.
call ourselves the shaman and the showman. He's the shaman, I'm the showman. We're presenting Salem's world-class horror and paranormal convention at the Salem State University, and it's November 12th and 13th. So really excited about that. We already have a whole lineup of amazing paranormal guests. And now we're going to try to start adding some of the horror guests. I know we have one, Damien from Strangers Prey at Prey. You've probably
Um,
you've probably interviewed him, of course. Uh,
Not that I know of.
oh,
Strangers Pray at Night, I have not. I know of Damien Leone from Terrifier, but other than that,
no, hold on. I'll get you his name because we're gonna get you as a guest. We're gonna get him as a guest for you. Hang on.
sure, why not?
Going to my own website, which is salemparacon.org. How was
Mm-hmm.
that? How was that for a smart plug? But as we're speaking, I'm going to the website because I want to make sure I pronounce his last name correctly. Damien was in that. He's been in a bunch of things, and it's Damien Maffei. So Maffei, I think. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
he's the man of the mask from Strangers Pray at Night. He
Okay.
played the devil in the movie Haunt. He played Morgan in The Foundation's Voice of Reason in Wrong Turn 2021. Soon he'll be Martin in Dark Circles. And he's a playable character in the upcoming Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. So he's got a lot of nice credits there. We got to get him on your show.
Send him my way. I'll take him. Sure.
Done deal. You got it, my friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd be open to that. Why not? But yeah, who are you going to have in the sequel book? Are you going to tell me, or
Some of the people we have.
yeah,
Oh man, I want to save it. I want
you
to save
you can
I want
save
to
it if
save
you
it.
want.
I want to save it for when it comes out, so we can do a.
Okay, yeah, okay.
We'll do the launch. We'll get you the book so you can do the grand reveal.
Yeah,
And
I did an
yeah,
unveiling of it.
I
Yeah,
know. I love that. I love that. I
yeah.
shared that like crazy. And then we'll give you the whole rundown. We'll go through the guests. I'll tell you who was easy to get, who was tough to get, if there's any fascinating stories. But yeah, I'll definitely come on again for that. But a year or two away. I'm not going to go crazy.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I tried to get you Nancy Allen, but I know she is very busy with the Wee Sparks cancer thing. I was quite happy to get her on the show. I'll tell you, that was a 5-year project getting her on, but
Well, Brian De Palma's up there with one of my favorite directors of all time.
love Brian De
And
Palma.
John Carpenter, him, Hitchcock. There's a handful who I will.
Hmm.
Everything is amazing, and Jordan Peele's close. But his movies with his wife Nancy were just
I love
amazing.
Dress to Kill.
Just drastic. Well, my other favorite is Phantom of the Paradise, which Nancy
Love
was
that
in.
too.
but
I
my
have
God.
interviewed 4 people, I think, from Phantom of the Paradise.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who? Who are the people?
I've had Jessica Harper on.
Yes.
I've had Saratoga Valentine, who was one of the crow dancers,
Okay.
and I had 2 of the bandmates, Archie Hahn and
Yeah.
Peter Ebling.
Wow.
Hmm.
The what was there? The something was chewing gum, the bubble gum,
The Juicy Fruits.
juicy fruits. Oh,
But I had those two on, you know.
carburetors, man. That's what life is all about. That's what life is. What's scary is I know the whole soundtrack. Paul
Hmm.
Paul Williams would be the ultimate get, but he's tough.
I wouldn't mind getting him. I mean, I remember watching Baby Driver and he pops up there. I was like, I perked right up in my seat. I mean, it's a great movie, but
Yeah,
that was a moment I perked right up in my seat. It's like Paul Williams, you know?
love Paul Williams, man. I would love to get him for my for my top 10 horror list. I'd love, as the great songwriter he is, I would love to get him for my top 10 Beatles list book. But unfortunately, he doesn't answer emails. I've tried very hard.
Oh yeah, there are a few of them out there, you know. So I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to that second book. How long did it take this one?
That's a tough question. I'll tell you why. Because it was in the making many years, but I didn't know I was putting out a book until the pandemic hit. I don't know if I told you the story. So for years, I had an online newsletter called National Horror Happenings.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did is, this was my little fun thing. I used to publish a magazine on the Beatles called Good Day Sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
That ended. I thought I got enough people going on my Beatle tours. I need to somehow promote my Dracula tours and my ghost tours. Maybe if I do, I wasn't going to do a magazine because it was, magazines were done. It was the newsletter. I mean, it was the online world. So at National Horror Happenings, I would preview a movie. I would review a movie. I would do an interview. Every day a tidbit, one paragraph, whatever. And it got a lot of subscribers. It was on something called examiner.com, which has since disappeared. I'd probably still do it if it was still on. Anyway, for some reason, I did a top 10 list. And I think the first one I ever did was with Kevin Clement, who was the producer of Chiller, which at that time was the premier horror convention in the world. It's since become more of a celebrity show, but still has horror elements. And Kevin's a great guy, dear friend, gave me a top 10 list. And from there, I said, well, this is cool. And it got the most hits. It got the most comments. It got the most eyeballs. I said, well, let's do another one. Corbin Burnson was putting out a horror movie called
I
something.
met him. What a great guy. I never
Great,
had him on here, but I met him.
great guy. Uh, uh, he produced a horror movie that he was in with Bill Moseley. Got me his list. Bill
I'm
Moseley,
I may be meeting Bill Moseley at Frightmare in the Falls.
wow, great guy, brilliant, Yale graduate, brilliant guy. So I was starting to do one top 10 list a month for National Horror, and the people would give them. It was like, and even when I was asking, they were coming through for them. So once a month, put it online, it's read by a few hundred people, a few thousand, whatever. It still blew away any other of the newsletter bits I would do. And I didn't realize that I had about 60 or 70 of them in a database. Figured someday, I'd look back on them and get a kick out of them. But when the pandemic hit, oh my gosh, I got not doing my conventions, right? I'm not doing my tours. I'm not DJing, which is my main thing. I DJ, parties on weekends. All the things that I do, I can't do. So what am I doing? I'm watching lots of horror movies with my kids. I'm on the treadmill at night, and I'm thinking, if I'm on the treadmill, I can't just be running. I got to be doing some. So instead of just watching movies, I thought, let me get those lists and see if I can make a book out of those lists. And with only 20 or 30 to go, everyone's in lockdown, everyone's home. So I'm writing to other celebrities and they're giving me their list like overnight. And there was so many people I'd met since then. Now, mind you, I started the book in 2010 without knowing I was starting a book then, 12 years prior or whatever, 10 years prior. And so I had 70 lists, added 30 more very soon. And while everyone was suffering from COVID and we're in lockdown, I had to be creative. I had to be doing something. I finished the book, got it to the publisher, Bear Manor Media. Took a little while, about a year. And that's when COVID was kind of ending, put out the book. And as you know, for the past year, it's been doing great, amazing reviews on Amazon, selling like hotcakes at conventions. And if listeners want a copy, they can still get one through me, and I'll gladly sign it at the website www.bookoftop10horrorlists.com, which is the number 10 without the word the, bookoftop10horrorlists.com. They can also get it on Amazon. And as of last month, on the 1 year anniversary of the release, Bear Manor Media was able to put out a Kindle ebook of it. So for the people who don't want to spend the money and don't need a hardcover or a soft cover, they can get a $9.95 ebook of it and read it on their device, however that works. So
I prefer to have the hard. I
yes,
prefer this, you know.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. So,
Yeah.
but just so folks know, it's available from Bear Manor Media, or it's available from Amazon, and you can get the hardcover, the soft cover, or the ebook through the Kindle version of it. And it's available all three ways, and get it because, like you, they're gonna love it.
I want to do a top 10 horror list for your book. I don't know whether I'm considered somebody you want, but I'd love to do a list.
All right, so I got to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Every interview I do with every horror person, every podcaster,
Mm-hmm.
they say they want to do a list, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, how can I put you in and not put Slasher Scotty? How can I put in Slasher Scotty and not put in Three Corners of Horror? I consider us friends, and
Yeah.
I want to put your list in there. But if I put in a list of every interviewer, podcast, everyone has a horror show, I got to do a separate book because I'm going to have 100 lists from my contemporaries, my friends like yourself, who would want to do that. And so that might be the third one. That really might be the third book of my colleagues in the horror world
Okay.
who are
I'll mention right now on
yeah.
here what I would consider my top 10. This is not in any particular order.
Go.
Definitely John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yes.
Dress to Kill is definitely on there for me.
Yes.
Miss 45, Abel Ferrara's Miss 45.
Wow.
Love that film. I would put Black Christmas, the original, on that list.
Mm.
For a Hitchcock film, it's hard, but I think my favorite is Rear Window.
My my
I
kid's favorite one too. Yeah.
I love Rear Window. It's my favorite for Hitchcock. For a vampire film, Fright Night, the original.
With Roddy McDowell.
Yep, I love that.
Genius.
For werewolf movie, it's hard between American Werewolf in London and The Howling, but I'm gonna go with American Werewolf in London just by a smidgen.
I would too.
I would throw X on that list.
Wow. That's the
I
most recent of the bunch, right?
Yep. And this I don't know if it would classify as a horror film, but I certainly put it in there because it's definitely thriller based, but I'm going to throw it in there. Class of 1984, especially
Wow.
that third act goes right into slasher territory.
Oh, it definitely fits the genre, of course.
I love that film, and I've interviewed so many people in that. And for number 10, I think I might go with Suspiria because I got to throw a giallo in there.
Suspiria is just, for some reason, Suspiria and Carnival of Souls
Carnival of Souls is good.
float
I
over
think Deep Red is Argento's best film, but my favorite is Suspiria.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would probably, but you'll notice I tried to put a title above every one of them, favorite this or favorite that, or
Yes.
how it goes, that's probably how it would go. And you never know, I could look in my bunch there of Blu-rays and I forgot
Oh, forgot that. Well, that's the problem with doing a top 10 because in 2 weeks, you said, why did I put that and not that? How could I have listed it? But you know what? You're committing to it and it's your top 10 at that time. And that's fair enough. People ask me why I didn't put a top 10 in the book of my own. And if you recall, I did, but it was the top 10 roles that I've acted in. So I sort of was a little tricky, a little cheeky about it. I didn't commit
Hmm.
to my top 10 favorite horror films, which I will do in the sequel. But for this one, I put, my favorite horror roles that I was in. And it's really funny because so many people have come back and said, hey, I never knew that existed. I didn't know you were in a movie with Tom Savini called The Sadist. And they went back and watched the movies. And some of them said, whoa, it was surprisingly good. But in most cases, it was like, oh, okay, now I know why I didn't see that movie. Having said that, I've been in a movie since, which is really, I think, dynamite. A movie called The Night at the Eagle Inn, which I,
Okay.
which I don't know if you've seen, but is worth,
No.
worth seeing. I play the demented, psycho, cross-dressing debutante who only appears on a TV screen to talk to our heroine. And the filming of it was just beyond fun. Eric Bloomquist is the director, and he's got a slasher woods retro movie that's either out or coming out, and he's someone we should get on your show because Eric
Hmm.
is a brilliant filmmaker, and he's got tons of movies in the future that he's gonna be doing. Um, but yeah, so I would have included that in my book as one of my favorite roles, but I hadn't done it yet. So
Oh,
that's why things evolve. You understand, so you might love X now, but there might be a new horror
you
movie,
know what? I'm sitting here thinking too, man, X might get bumped out of there by
right?
the 1978 Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I forgot that. Love
That
that movie.
you might have to do honorable mentions. Have
X would certainly. I went to it 4 times, so I mean, I don't do that with every movie, you know.
you interviewed Brittany Snow?
No, I don't know. Could I get her though? I mean, she was also in Pitch Perfect.
I know she's that she might be above the ones who do these type of interviews.
I
Unfortunately,
loved her in it. I mean, it was nice seeing her go from Pitch Perfect to this. I'll tell you that.
she's been in a bunch of things, but yeah, those are my two the
Yeah,
two stand out the most. Her Pitch Perfects and X. It's
but I
great.
mean, going to Beatles, I mean, could I pick up top 10 Beatles songs? Holy cow, because I want to hold your hand. I really enjoyed. Help, I really enjoyed. Love Me Do, Yellow
Yeah,
Submarine, of course.
yeah.
Hard Day's Night.
Ooh, these are classics, brother.
Even Taxman, it's completely going over my head, but I love a lot of Beatles songs.
Yeah, people are finding a tough list to do, so they're changing it around. Elliot Easton of the Cars, I believe, contributed his favorite middle eights, the breaks in the song. Someone else did their favorite Paul McCartney bass parts. Another
That
one
guy, that guy from the Cars. Are you still in touch with him?
I am, and he won't.
The Cars is my favorite band.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
and it's sad because um,
We lost Rick Ocasek.
we lost Rick Ocasek and Benjamin Orr,
Ben,
who
and
is
Ben.
the vocalist of my favorite Cars song, which is Cruiser.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow. That's your favorite band. Yeah. So I am friends with Greg Hawkes and Elliot Easton. And I'll get you in touch with Elliot.
well, here's the thing. I've got all of them on CD and I have all of them on vinyl.
Oh, see, that's just what I needed. You get
You
it?
see, just what I needed. Yeah. Yep. But I mean, I love the Cars, and I don't think there's any songs that they've done I didn't like.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
I got them all the records all on vinyl, except for the last one there,
It
Door
wasn't.
to Door. I don't have that on vinyl. I never found it, but I got them all on CD, including Door to Door.
Mm,
But I
uh,
got all the other ones all on vinyl.
After we conclude, I'll email you contact information. We talked about that Beatles author, and I'll get you that as well.
Yeah, because
And you
I
got me.
love I love the Cars. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you a biggest heartbreak I had this year.
What's that?
I've been in talks for the last couple of years
Yes.
of getting Olivia Newton-John on here.
Ah,
I've been talking to her manager,
ah,
and he was very cordial, but everything kept getting put off because of her health. Even last year, he was saying we may be able to do something for the 40th anniversary of Physical, and
wow.
that got canceled because of her health. And when I heard she passed away, number one, we lost an angel, and number two, that would have given me a lot of clout had I had her on, but
Yeah, very special, very
yeah.
special
Oh,
person.
we got because I grew up with her music, but yeah, I love the Cars, and I still listen to them. I think I think I got a favorite song on every single album. I mean, you asked me a top 10 Cars song, that would be hard. Good Times Roll, Cruiser, Fine Line was great.
Yeah.
Um, you know, um,
Drive, just what I need is just on and on. Such
Magic, Shake It Up.
shake it up. What a great dance tune.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like there's so many
Let's go.
great. Yeah, Let's Go, and Since You're Gone, Maybe Baby had some great drum ripped in Maybe Baby.
Yep.
You know, I love the Cars. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, I love the Cars. But in terms of top 10 Beatles songs, again, that would be hard. By the way, I love that movie. I Want to Hold Your Hand too, with
With Eddie
Nancy
Dees.
Allen, Nancy Allen, and Eddie Deason. Both have interviewed that are in that. Had to talk to Nancy about her romantic fling with a guitar in it.
Yeah, that's a little raunch. I got to tell you, and I'm going to run because this is one of the last things I can throw at you. When the people ask me what's my favorite Beatle movie, they think I'm going to say A Hard Day's Night or Help or Submarine. My answer is I Want to Hold Your Hand because it's so funny. It's such captures the Beatlemania of the time and the performances by Eddie Deason and Nancy Allen and Wendy Sperber. I mean, it's just everything about it. And don't forget that launched, in a way, Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis
Yep.
breaking away from Spielberg on their own. And unfortunately, it came out the same time as a movie called Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which was so despised with the Bee Gees and with Steve Martin and with Billy Preston, which if you watch it now, it's not that bad, but it was so hated at the time that I Want to Hold Your Hand came out at the same time. It got lost. It was the other movie that no one remembered. But if you watch it, it still holds up and it's still just amazingly funny and it's special. I love I Want to Hold Your Hand.
I do too. I got that here on Blu-ray. I love that movie, very funny, very funny. Well, before we let you go, plug your website.
Thank you. So the new book, True Ghost Stories of Connecticut, which you don't have to be from Connecticut to love. You would love it if you love just great ghost stories because they're all true. The website is www.paranormalconnecticut.com. The website for the aforementioned, thank you, you beat me to it, Book of Top 10 Horror Lists, where the poster is behind me and the book is in front of me, is www.bookoftop10horrorlists.com without the word the. And if you want to come up with me to Transylvania, to Romania on our Dracula tour, on our vampire vacation to Transylvania, it's www.dractours.com. dractours.com, dractours.com. Few more. Our Tours of Terror, our ghost tour, and we're going to England in July. We're going to all the scariest places. We'll do the Jack the Ripper. We'll go to Whitby. We'll go to the Derby jails. You name it. We go with it. Is www.toursofterror.com. And if you want to come on a Beatles tour with me, we go every August during Beatle Week. We actually go to London and Liverpool, and it's www.liverpooltours.com. So there's all those websites, and no one's going to remember any of them. So just get in touch with our host here, and he'll supply them to you. And when we hang up, I'm going to supply you with some leads for future shows.
Question: have you met any of the Beatles?
I had close encounters with all the Beatles except John Lennon.
Yeah, because some asshole decided to ruin that, huh?
Yeah, it sickens me to my stomach just to even think about it. But if you and I ever do a Beatles show, I'll tell you all about my close encounters with all those guys, and the amazing serendipitous way I met George Harrison in Japan.
Did you meet the Blue Meanie?
I am the Blue Meanie. Come on, that's my alter ego. I'm a super villain in disguise. Thank you so much for having me. You know that I gotta limit us, because if I don't, you and I are gonna do another 3-hour show.
Didn't stop Paul M. Sampson, I'll tell you that. He went over 5 hours. But you know what? This is wonderful. Before you go,
Yes.
do a plug for my show.
Well, I'm going to tell everyone out there that I do a ton of podcasts, and I get interviewed by a ton of people. But Greg Gilbert is not only a great interviewer, he's a true fan and a great guy. So I'm plugging not only future guests that should be on his show, but listeners, because you're going to hear so much great information and listen to a wealth of amazing guests. It's a long plug, but a worthwhile plug for a great guy.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to press the stop here, and then we could do our formal. But people, last thing, check out those books. I have the book of top 10 horror list, and you can get that too, as well as this paranormal book as well. So folks, you guys tune in, and absolutely, we'll have Charles Rosenay on again. So you take care.